Let's start with the manual. We're at least gonna read the story. Link to the Past lore is some of my favorite Zelda lore. And I love how it connects to Ocarina of Time. Not the official timeline nowadays. That's nonsense. I hate the timeline that came out with Skyward Sword, but I love the connection between Link to the Past and Ocarina from the 90s. There we go. All right, look at this artwork. Isn't this artwork that's in the manual is so beautiful. I love these two pictures so much. Here's like, they even have it like the three goddesses that created the world in the Triforce, right? This is Din, Nehru, and Farore. They're not named in this one, but they're totally the characters, right? This Master Sword art, also iconic, absolutely iconic. The Legends of Hyrule. To set the stage for this adventure of the legendary hero of Hyrule, it will be informative to delve into the Triforce myth, an ancient epic about the creation of the world that is still believed in the land of Hyrule. Every culture has such myths and theories about the creation of their worlds, and it can be beneficial and entertaining to examine them in detail, for they often affect the present-day social structure. The legends say the mythical gods of Hyrule had as their chosen people the Hylia. These ancient people left scrolls that are the primary source of the legends. The creation of Hyrule. According to the Hylian scrolls, the mythical gods descended from a distant nebula to the world that was and created order and life. The god of power dyed the mountains red with fire and created the land. The god of wisdom created science and wizardry and brought order to nature. And the god of courage, through justice and vigor, created life, the animals that crawl the land and the birds that soar the sky. After the gods had finished their work, they left the world, but not before creating a symbol of their strength, a golden triangle known as the Triforce. A small but powerful portion of the essence of the gods was held in this mighty artifact, which was to guide the intelligent life on the world of Hyrule. Although it was an inanimate object, the Triforce had the power to bestow 3 titles which gave the person who received them great powers: the Forger of Strength, the Keeper of Knowledge, and the Juror of Courage. From its hiding place in the so-called Golden Land, where the gods placed it, the Triforce beckoned people from the outside world to seek it in hope that someone worthy of the titles would find it. With their magic-infused blood, the Hylian people were endowed with psychic powers and skill in wizardry. It was also said that their long pointed ears enabled them to hear special messages from the gods, so they were held in high esteem by many people in Hyrule. Their descendants settled in various parts of the world and passed on their knowledge and magical lore to all people, but in its passing, the lore was often distorted or lost altogether. Gates to the Golden Land. In Hyrule, there are many Hylian buildings which are mentioned repeatedly in the legends. These buildings, which now lie in ruin, pale shadows of their former splendor, are closely tied to the Triforce. Some were said to house the Triforce itself. If it were only a symbol of the gods, the Triforce would be coveted by many, but a verse from the Book of Medora, a collection of Hylian legends and lore, made the Triforce even more desirable. This is the excerpt. In a realm beyond sight, the sky shines gold, not blue. There the Triforce's might makes mortal dreams come true. Many aggressively searched for the wish-granting Triforce, but no one, not even the Hylian sages, was sure of its location. The knowledge had been lost over time. Some said the Triforce lay under the desert. Others said that it was in the cemetery in the shadow of Death Mountain, but no one ever found it. That yearning for the Triforce soon turned to lust for power, which in turn led to the spilling of blood. Soon the only motive left among those searching for the Triforce was pure greed. One day, quite by accident, a gate to the Golden Land of the Triforce was opened by a gang of thieves skilled in the black arts. This land was like no other. In the gathering twilight, the Triforce shone from the resting place high above the world. In a long, running battle, the leader of the thieves fought his way past his followers in lust for the golden power. After vanquishing his own followers, the leader stood triumphant over the Triforce and grasped it with his blood-stained hands. He heard a whispered voice. "If thou hast a strong desire or dream, wish for it." And in reply, the roaring laughter of the brigand leader echoed across time and space, and even reached the far-off land of Hyrule. The name of this king of thieves is Ganondorf Dragmire. but he is known by his alias Mandrag Ganon, which means Ganon of the Enchanted Thieves. I love the surname of Ganon. I love Ganondorf Dragmire and his alias Mandrag Ganon. I wish that would come back. Okay, we also have some cool artwork coming up. There you go. This is Aghanim over here. We're going to learn about him. And this is, I think, the imprisoning war that we're going to learn about in just a second. The imprisoning war. I do not know what Ganon wished for from the Triforce. However, in time, evil power began to flow from the Golden Land, and greedy men were drawn there to become members of Ganon's army. Black clouds permanently darkened the sky, and many disasters beset Hyrule. The Lord of Hyrule sent for the 7 wise men and the Knights of Hyrule, and ordered them to seal the entrance to the Golden Land. The Triforce, being an inanimate object, cannot judge between good and evil. Therefore, it could not know that Ganon's wishes were evil. It merely granted them. Suspecting that Ganon's power was based on the Triforce's magic, the people of Hyrule forged a sword resistant to magic, which could repulse even powers granted by the Triforce. This mighty weapon became known as the Blade of Evil's Bane, or the Master Sword. It was so powerful that only one who was pure of heart and strong of body could wield it. As the 7 wise men searched for a valiant person to take up the Master Sword, Ganon's evil army swarmed from the tainted Golden Land into Hyrule and attacked the castle. The wise men and the Knights of Hyrule combined forces to wage war on this evil horde. The Knights took the full brunt of the fierce attack, and although they fought courageously, many a brave soul was lost that day. However, their lives were not lost in vain, for they bought precious time for the 7 wise men to magically seal Ganon in the Golden Land. All of Hyrule rejoiced at the victory that upheld peace and order over Ganon's evil and chaos. This war, which had claimed many lives, became known as the Imprisoning War in stories told in later centuries. I also have to say, I love how this lore is treated in Tears of the Kingdom as well. It's the best approach to Zelda lore since the old days. Alright, the coming of the wizard. Many centuries have passed since the Imprisoning War. The land of Hyrule healed its wounds and the people lived in peace for a long time. Memories of the vicious Imprisoning War faded over the generations. So it is no surprise that no one was prepared for the new disasters that have recently struck Hyrule. Pestilence and drought, uncontrollable even by magic, ravaged the land. The king of Hyrule, after counsel with his sages, ordered an investigation of the imprisoned Dark World as the Golden Land had come to be known. But the wise men's seal was apparently intact. He offered rewards for anyone who could find the source of these troubles. In answer to these summons, a stranger named Aghanim came and quelled the disasters with a previously unseen form of magic. As a reward, the king gave him a new position as chief advisor and heir to the 7 wise men. The masses proclaimed him their hero. Peace had returned to Hyrule, or had it. Of late, rumors have traveled their whispering path with alarming frequency. Rumors saying Aghanim now rules the country with his magic. Rumors of strange magical experiments in the castle tower at night. The people of Hyrule were gripped by dread. Okay, we have illustrations to look at. We're gonna hear about Link getting woken up from his restful slumber. Prologue. One night, a girl's voice awakens you from your sleep. Help me. My name is Zelda. I'm in the castle dungeon. She telepathically pleads. You jump out of bed, not knowing whether the voice was part of a dream or reality. Upon leaving your bed, you find your uncle, who should be fast asleep at this time, preparing to go out, girded for battle. I'll be back by morning, he says as he departs. Don't leave the house. You watch him leave with the family sword in hand and shield on arm. This is a night like no other. Who is Zelda? Where had your uncle gone and for what reason? And so, on an ill-fated night, a new chapter in the Legend of Hyrule's hero begins. A new chapter in the Legend of Zelda. There's more goodies in this manual. We're now going to read your quest as a legendary hero, and look at that artwork of Link and Zelda right there. The Golden Land of the Triforce has become a dark world, corrupted by Ganon's evil wishes. However, this is not enough for Ganon. He also wants to make Hyrule, the light world, his own. To do this, he needs to break the seal of the 7 wise men, but he cannot do this with his power alone. He must also use the life force of the descendants of the 7 wise men. With Aghanim the wizard as his pawn, this is about to become a reality, thus the late-night experiments in the castle tower. You, as the legendary hero of Hyrule, must enter the Dark World on a quest to save the maidens that Aghanim has sent there. The aim of the game is to solve the many mysteries and adventures that await you along the way to rescuing the maidens, defeating Ganon, and returning peace to Hyrule. I love this manual so much. Love it so much. Let's look at the player's guide now. Okay, here is our map and table of contents. I think there's better maps than this, but like, isn't this such a beautiful representation of Hyrule in this game? I love it. Okay, there's really cool stuff in this guide, by the way. It basically gives a history of the first 2 games. It gives all the lore from the first 2 games, and I kind of want to dive into that as well. This just tells you how great Zelda is and how great the guide is, I'm pretty sure. Here's the legend. Link's first call to adventure came in The Legend of Zelda when he had to rescue the princess. The adventure of Link forced the hero to confront a new destiny. And The Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, the epic history of Link is revealed. Alright, look at this artwork. This is like the story from Zelda 1, and it's called The Captive. So they have these little, like, you know, chapter titles for each of the games. I love it. I love this stuff so much. I especially think this is so interesting because there is like a history, there's a timeline of the Zelda timeline in stuff like this. Alright, The Legend of Zelda. Although The Legend of Zelda appeared first in the series of Zelda adventures, it actually takes place many years after the 3rd game. In this time, Hyrule had declined, becoming a rustic land with few remaining signs of its earlier glory. The land was overrun and Ganon was to blame. At the heart of the conflict lay a missing piece of the Triforce and Princess Zelda. Of how Ganon came by the Triforce of Power, no tale is told. When she discovered that Ganon had acquired a piece of the Triforce, though, Princess Zelda broke the Triforce of Wisdom into 8 pieces and hid them. She knew a hero was needed to challenge Ganon, so she sent her nurse Impa to search throughout the land, even as Zelda herself was captured. During her quest, Impa long evaded Ganon's reach, but in a forest glade, she too fell into his clutches, and would have been carried off if not for the heroic actions of a passing youth named Link. Once the villains had been driven away, Impa told the young man about Zelda's secret. Then, unable to hold back her tears, she told him how the princess had been taken captive. No sooner had the youth heard the tale of Zelda's sorrow than he pledged to defeat Ganon and rescue the princess. He set off at once, knowing only that he had to collect the 8 pieces of the Triforce of Wisdom. At every turn of the path, he met monsters and other evil soldiers of Ganon who challenged him in battle. Link's first task was to find the hidden dungeons, where Zelda had secretly hidden the divided Triforce. Many of the entrances were disguised, and only by using all of his wits and the scraps of hints he picked up along the way was he able to succeed. Inside the dungeons, he met countless enemies, but Ganon's minions had taken hold of even the most remote chambers. Isn't that artwork so good? That artwork is so freaking good. After countless adventures, Link gathered all 8 pieces of the Triforce of Wisdom. Here, this is what we're looking at, by the way. Look at this. This is Link fighting Ganon. That's Ganon. Isn't that freaking beautiful artwork? Isn't it? After countless adventures, Link gathered all 8 pieces of the Triforce of Wisdom, then scaled Death Mountain and gained entrance to the Spectacle Rock. Ganon's great maze dwarfed any that Link had yet encountered. In a hidden chamber, he discovered a magical silver arrow, and taking the prize, he traced his way back through the maze until he came face to face with Ganon himself. The battle between youthful hero and villainous foe raged across the chamber. but Ganon remained invisible, seemingly unaffected by the cuts of Link's sword. As Link began to fire, he tried a last desperate strategy, putting the silver arrow to the test. The bowstrings sang and the arrow flew straight. Ganon was destroyed. With the defeat of Ganon, Link's mind turned to the purpose that had driven him here, the rescue of Princess Zelda. One chamber remained to be explored, and Link pushed ahead. Here Zelda greeted him, and the pieces of the Triforces of power and wisdom were reunited. Love this artwork so much. With the destruction of Ganon and the power of the Triforce restored, peace reigned once more in Hyrule. Princess Zelda now ruled the land and the country prospered. It seemed as if the shadow of Ganon had been destroyed forever, but the youthful hero of the age remained ever vigilant. Wherever Link roamed, he looked for signs of Ganon's return, for he could not believe that he had truly banished evil from the land. And down here is just a blurb about, like, the release of The Legend of Zelda and the impact on the video game industry. Alright, our next chapter is Spellbound, Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link. The Adventure of Link takes place several years after The Legend of Zelda. An older, taller, and perhaps wiser Link has seen the country prosper and villages spring up, but peace is a fragile commodity in Hyrule, and history has a way of repeating itself. On his second adventure, Link becomes a master of magic as well as a fighter. He visits many towns, fights new enemies, and travels across the sea. Marked by the sign on his hand, Link was destined to become a hero. But in the peaceful days following his first quest, he became restless. He wandered the forests, crossed the deserts, and delved into the caverns of Hyrule, looking for clues to explain his feeling of unease. In time, he became aware of a whisper that passed between the birds, beasts, and even through the blades of grass. There was a new magic in the land, nameless and terrifying. Lying still as marble, Princess Zelda slept the dreamless sleep of enchantment. When Link found her thus arrayed in the North Palace, he saw at once that she was spellbound. His greatest fear had come to pass. By refusing to reveal the secret power of the Triforce to a wizard, Zelda had brought on her own downfall. But all was not lost. If Link somehow unlocked the mystery of the Great Palace, he could save Zelda and the Triforce of Courage. Okay, so this is really interesting. I'm really into looking at like old official Zelda supplements. I often go on the Wayback Machine on Internet Archive and look at the old official Nintendo sites, and almost every time that they talk about the story of Zelda 2, what they're saying here, like, they're implying that this Zelda is Zelda from Zelda 1, but in the story that's in the manual, that is not the case. The manual gives this whole backstory about how, like, you know, generations ago, there was a princess named Zelda, and she was placed under a sleeping spell and has been asleep for hundreds of years or thousands of years. They give that reason and say that all the princesses of Hyrule are named Zelda after her. And that's the Zelda that you wake up in Zelda 2. But they, like, pretend that that didn't exist, even as early as 1993. Again, Link took to the fields and forests, but these places had become wild and dangerous, inhabited by enemies of old. Link found himself relying on his wits and swordplay at every step. Creatures he had never seen before also waylaid him. Spiders called dealers that dropped from the trees, tall Geldarms that rose from the sands of the Tantari Desert, and of course the Moblins, armed with spears and hatred. Link's mission was to enter each of the 6 palaces and restore a missing crystal to a statue. Together, the statues created a magical lock on the Great Palace. Only by releasing the 6 crystals could Link open the final door. In each palace, however, he had to battle a statue guardian of great strength. Barba the Dragon, Iron Knuckle the Knight, Karok the Wizard, and others. This artwork is so incredible. Look at this one. There's like, I don't know what enemy this is supposed to be. It looks like a sphinx coming down and attacking Link in the shadows. It's so good. As he closed the palaces, Link crossed the whole of Hyrule, from Ruto in the northwest to Death Mountain in the south. From the Island Palace in the stormy straits to Maze Island in the far eastern sea. He helped villagers when he could, but he never lost sight of his ultimate goal. Finally, after uncovering the secrets of Old Kasuto, Link pushed on to the Great Palace where he met the Thunderbird. Oh, I guess this is the Thunderbird, which is the second to last boss. Once the Thunderbird was vanquished, Link thought that Zelda and Hyrule would be saved, but it was not to be. Not yet. Exhausted from his journeying, Link had one more enemy to defeat. An enemy so unexpected that he did not know what to do, for the enemy was his own shadow. Look at that! Link fighting his shadow. I love it. I love it so much. And then here's our blurb about the actual game. Worlds Apart. The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. Back in the mists of time, before the era of The Legend of Zelda and the Adventure of Link, Hyrule was a land of fabulous palaces and magic. It was also a troubled land, and the divisions of light and dark were tearing it apart. The origins of this conflict lay even deeper in the shadows of time, with the coming of the Triforce and the greed of Ganondorf, King of Thieves. To comprehend Hyrule and Link's desperate quest, one must first know the ancient legends of the Triforce in the Golden Land. Where it was placed by the creators of the world, the Triforce beckoned to the people. Ganon and his band of thieves also searched for the secret entrance to the Golden Land, eventually stumbling upon it. Then Ganon defeated his fellows for possession of the Triforce. In a period known as the Imprisoning War, the King of Hyrule brought 7 wise men together to seal the door to the Golden Land, for Ganon's evil power had been spilling forth, causing corruption and darkness. The once peaceful land became a palace of dreadful rumors of the coming of a magical enemy. At this time, the Master Sword was forged, but there was no hero valiant enough to wield it. Before the wise men could seal off the Golden Land and the Triforce, Ganon's army surged into Hyrule and besieged the castle. The Knights of Hyrule fought heroically, but the power of the Triforce controlled their enemies, giving them inhuman strength. The battle raged back and forth through the gate. Many foes fell in the tide of battle, but too many knights also were lost. It seemed that they were beyond hope. Then, at the end of the day, the wise men finally succeeded in blocking the door to Ganon's realm. With the power of their master removed, the enemies fled or threw themselves into the moat. Hyrule was saved, and over the years, the Golden Land, which then became known as the Dark World, faded from the memory of the people. The people of Hyrule may have forgotten about the Dark World, but the master of that evil land had not forgotten about Hyrule. Ganon brooded in his prison, surrounded by reminders of his fall. He grew ever more bitter as the dark years passed, like the wailing of cold winds on a winter's night. Ambition burned in his eyes. He would find a way to wreak vengeance and claim total power. Look at Ganon being sealed. Isn't that so cool? Many centuries passed with Ganon and the Triforce safely locked away. Then the disasters began. Plague, drought, quakes, and fire. The king sought sage advice, and a wizard named Aghanim stepped forth and ended the strange disasters. He became a powerful advisor to the king, but he kept his true plans to himself. It seemed like a golden age, but it wouldn't last. Once Aghanim had consolidated his power, he began to abuse it. First to fall victim were the ancestors of the 7 wise men. The wizard imprisoned 6 maidens in crystal cocoons, and they were never seen again. Then Princess Zelda herself was taken as she sent a telepathic plea into the night. The Hylian gift that enabled Zelda to send her message also allowed Link to hear her. Having received Zelda's message, Link felt compelled to save her, but his uncle forbade him to leave the house. Link's uncle thought that the lad's courage outweighed his common sense, yet he knew that something had to be done to save Zelda. Turning away from Link, he gripped his sword. He knew a secret entrance into the castle, although he didn't know the way out. Link couldn't tell how much time had passed since his uncle had left. A minute? An hour? The only thing he knew was that Zelda had spoken to him. He had to help her. Taking his lamp to light his way, Link stepped into the lashing rain and headed toward the castle. As Link floundered about in the storm, he heard a second telepathic message from Zelda, telling of a secret route into the castle. When he found the entrance, he also found his uncle inside, wounded and unable to carry on. Link took his uncle's sword and promised to return. Then, the great quest began. Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. Oh, check it out. So this is a fold-out map of Hyrule, but this artwork is so gorgeous. We saw this one in the manual already, and this picture always stuck with me. Like, this picture, I feel, represents how worlds can exist beyond the world that we live in. Like, worlds that exist in our minds. And being from a video game, I think it enforces that video games can make those worlds real. It's such a powerful piece of art, I feel like. And when I got this guide and saw this, like, in this big blown up form, it really just struck a chord. Alright, we also have to read what the background lore says at the start of the game, because this is yet another interpretation with maybe some more details. I don't remember. Long ago in the beautiful kingdom of Hyrule, surrounded by mountains and forests, legends told of an omnipotent and omniscient golden power that resided in a hidden land. Many people aggressively sought to enter the hidden golden land, but no one ever returned. One day, evil power began to flow from the golden land. So the king commanded 7 wise men to seal the gate to the land of the golden power. That seal should have remained for all time. But when these events were obscured by the mists of time and became legend, this music is so good too. This music never comes back, does it? A mysterious wizard known as Aghanim came to Hyrule to release the seal. He eliminated the good king of Hyrule. Through evil magic, he began to make descendants of the 7 wise men vanish, one after another. And the time of destiny for Princess Zelda is drawing near.